Can Nebraska take a step forward in the turnover game? And to put the numbers in perspective, Steve Sipple, this is a defense that only forced 14 turnovers last year, 9 interceptions, 5 recovered fumbles. On the flip side, Nebraska gave it up 31 times. I believe 16 picks, 15 fumbles.
That's right. You nailed it. You got the numbers, Sean. Good job. Yes, the answer to your question is, can Nebraska take a step forward in the turnover game? The answer is a resounding yes. In fact, I think you could have put, can Nebraska take a big step forward in the turnover game? And I would have said yes. Because the defense is in the second year under Tony White, and it's an immensely talented defense. Now, I'll get to the offense in a second. It's an immensely talented defense. It should force more turnovers this year. They should have a good pass rush. That creates havoc. Quarterbacks should be a little skittish. They have a good secondary, a long secondary. I mean, long. Tommy Hill, 6'1", Singleton, 6'2", Gifford's, 5'11", 6 foot. He can make interceptions. They have guys that can do it. So they should force more. And then offensively, Dylan is, as we've established, is a very intelligent quarterback. He'll take care of the ball. He knows the deal. Okay. Yes, they will take care of the ball. They will not have the ratio that Nebraska's quarterbacks had last year, which was a horrifying ratio. 16 interceptions versus 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdown passes versus 16 interceptions. If you told me that going into the year, I would have said they won't finish 500. They will not finish 500 if their quarterback ratio is 10 touchdowns versus 16 interceptions. If Dylan Raiola has 10 touchdown passes and 16 interceptions this year, it'll be a colossal failure. I mean, a failure that will get guys fired. Okay, that's the long and short of it, Sean.
When you take out now a lot of that zone read stuff too, the QB exchanges, and a lot of fumbles of those 15 fumbles, they happen on plays like that.
Yeah,
because you're pulling the ball in and out of the belly of the running back.
Yeah,
there's timing issues. Sometimes a fumble happens too when there's a misread of timing of a receiver going in motion. The ball hits the receiver, or the handoff is late, or a bobble. I mean, there are some execution things that lead to fumbles.
You remember when I always thought about it this way? Remember when Beck was here, and Tim Beck was a very good offensive coordinator, but they were running that zone read stuff, and they were the amount of ball handling they asked the quarterback to do, to me, was astounding. The footwork, the ball handling, and the timing, man, it was a lot. There was a lot to ask.
I think
there won't be as much now.
The higher you get in the football world, the harder it is, because in the pro, I mean, they get their hands out more.
Yeah.
The Big Ten's a lot like that. You can do that in the high school games and get away with some of these things. But when you get to this level, you have to be perfect on all those plays.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to drop it. And the best fumble year recently Nebraska's had was when Mike Riley was the coach, because they didn't do that stuff.
Right. It's more straight handoff stuff. So I think they'll take I really believe it. I believe they'll take a big step forward that way. They'll reduce the amount on offense dramatically, and I imagine they'll increase. I don't know if I would say a dramatic increase on defense, but I would think they would force more.
If they can get pressure on quarterbacks with 3 or 4 men rushes,
that's big.
All of a sudden, that secondary can just lick their chops back there.
Can you get there with 4?
And they have guys back there that can make plays.
Yeah, and they have guys up front that can make plays. So. Yeah. I would, I'd feel a little bit better about the defense forcing more turnovers if Javin Wright was involved. I think that loss of Javin Wright, the way it is, and I don't know, maybe he'll be back, but he's not going to play this week. That is a big loss, and it's a size. I hate to say it this way, but I'll just say this way: it's a loss. It's a loss. There's no question. They don't have a player. They don't replace him with a commensurate player.
And there is no timeline on when he'll be back.
No, we haven't heard much about it.
No, and when it's a medical thing, they're careful.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
And we got to be careful. I mean, it's just not something that they have shared publicly what it is.
Yeah.
They have kept the door open, but you're right. Losing him he's an NFL caliber player.
Yeah, and he's long and he's a vicious hitter. So why do I say that he would affect the turnover situation? Because he's long. 6'5". He is 6'5", by the way. I looked. 230, and he's a vicious hitter. So I just hope he gets back. I really do, Sean.
I think the Black Shirts will force at least 3 turnovers Saturday. I think they can force at least 3.
That'd be great.
They need, and what I would like to see is them to kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like,
yeah,
they've screwed. I mean, especially these early season conference games that they've played, Nebraska's turned it over in these games. And it's like getting a debt that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Like Nebraska's
like a credit card debt.
Like Nebraska's turnover margin, they pay high interest rate on that all year. They don't get out of the debt.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a recurring talking point. It'd be nice if they could be like +3 coming out of Saturday.
Yeah. And what happens if they're +5 after 2 games? We don't even talk about it.
Yeah. Because then you're like, hey, we actually saved some money this month. We're ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, you don't even, but as media, it's kind of funny. If they get up in a situation after 4 games where they're +5, we don't even really talk about it that much.
What were they?
We only talk about it when they're down.
In 2003, when Bo came in, it was like a ridiculous margin. Like I mean, they forced like
+11 or something.
Well, then they forced it was like 40 turnovers. Yeah. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount. I mean, Josh Bullock's had 10 picks that year
himself. Yeah. I want to say, is +13? Does that make sense to you?
It was more than that.
Was it more than that?
Yeah. It was a ridiculous amount. I mean, like, they flipped the defense so much from that year to that year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, Sean.